Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about the humongous list of low carb foods that you can eat and that you should eat for optimal health. So on top of the low carb foods that I'm going to mention, I'm also going to be talking about safe vegetables and carbohydrates and fermented foods as well as spices. So this is more an all-encompassing animal-based diet list of foods that you can eat. If you are more carnivore and you're only doing animal protein, cheese, eggs, then you can ignore the rest. But if you have gotten to the stage in your life or you're at a point where you can have other foods that are not animal-based, this list is for you. So interestingly enough, when I first started the carnivore diet almost 3 years ago, I was very strict, eating only meat, seafood, and eggs, and a little bit of raw cheese. Now, as some of you may know, I have been able to reintroduce a few foods, not a lot, probably about 5, and I've been doing that for a year now, and I've been doing well with it. And I wanted to share with you guys my resources that I've accumulated over the past 3 years. I anticipate that I'll be getting a lot of, hopefully not, but some comments below saying that's not carnivore, that's not this, that's not that. So I just want to really put this out there, guys. I don't really like to put a title on things anymore. What I want, though, is everyone to be healthy and happy. I want everyone to get a chance to feel what true health is, to reverse autoimmune, to put their conditions in remission. That's my goal. And if I can help with what I've learned in the last 3 years, then I'm more than happy to do so. And I'll tell you this much, the information that I'm going to reveal and the foods on this list, people pay professionals big bucks for this. And I'm giving it all out for free because I believe that this information should be for free. I'll give you a little hint. Probably your great grandmother had this list, but luckily we're kind of taking a few steps back now and going back to our roots. And I think that's where true health lies, in the foods that are grown seasonally, ethically, and not made in a lab. When sourcing your protein, I always recommend grass-fed, grass-finished meat, but if you're not able to source that, I would then suggest that instead of buying fattier cuts of conventionally sourced meat, buy the lean cuts. If it's not grass-fed, buy more lean because animals store their toxins in their fat. So just a little tip over there. Let's get started. So I'm going to be reading off a list for you guys, and I'm going to start off with lean protein. So this is for those people that maybe can't tolerate a lot of fat, are a little bit repulsed by the taste of fat. It's okay. You can ease into an animal-based diet with lean protein. So some of the things on the list are lobster, mussels, scallops, shrimp, Greek yogurt, gelatin, egg whites. And for gelatin, the gelatin that I use is by a brand called Perfect Supplements. It's very important where you source your gelatin from because a lot of them are sprayed with pesticides, so it's not good. You don't want that. Collagen, crab, cottage cheese, chicken breasts without skin. If you leave the skin on, even better. Bone broth, bison, and then we're gonna move on to protein with fat, which I highly recommend. I run very well on fat. I get my energy from fat. If I don't have a lot of fat daily, I can kind of feel my energy levels a little bit low. So for me, I do very, very well with high quality animal fats. So I would say bacon, beef, chicken thighs, whole eggs. So getting that yolk in, do not be afraid of yolks, trout, sardines, oysters, my absolute favorite. Oysters are a superfood. I repeat, oysters are a superfood. If I could only pick 3 foods to live off of, it would probably be oysters, eggs, and ground beef. Oysters are number one for zinc and copper, and I think globally we have a huge zinc deficiency, which can be tied to so many of current health conditions that we're all facing. So that's one of them. Mackerel, lamb, full fat dairy, raw dairy, not pasteurized, duck, chicken breast with skin. Let's see what else is on my list here. Ribs, we got Korean short ribs, pork ribs, beef ribs, pork sausages. When you eat pork sausages or beef sausages, though, be very mindful of what else is in the sausage, what they put as a filler, and also I find it's best when I just make my own sausages. I know what I'm putting in there, and typically it's just pork, pork fat, and salt. I didn't even use any spices when we made them with my mom, but pork chops, ham steaks, French lamb, ground lamb, ribeye steak, strip loins, tenderloin, steak burgers, organ meatballs and hamburgers, veal sweetbreads, pork belly, bone broth, which I already mentioned. So that's your meat. That's a whole lot of meat. Some of them are more expensive than others. Some of them are less expensive. So you can pick from that list depending on what your budget is. But there's a plethora of options. We're gonna move on to fish, which I recommend wild caught. We're gonna do rainbow trout, cod, sockeye salmon, octopus, mussels, which I mentioned. You could do a fish bone broth, which is magnificent, and sardines and mackerel in water, which I think I mentioned before. But just make sure if you're ever buying the canned sardines or mackerel or canned tuna, that it is in water. Otherwise, it's most likely going to be sitting in vegetable oil. We don't want that. And one thing I don't want to miss talking about is fats. What fats should we cook with? So I'm going to go with beef tallow, pork lard, and ghee, butter. Avocado oil, be careful with, because it is very rare that it's true and pure avocado oil. Same with olive oil, and they do have a different smoke point than tallow or lard. So if you're going to be consuming avocado oil and olive oil, just make sure it's 100% that oil and nothing else. And another one is coconut oil. And yeah, that's about it. I would just say those are your safest bets in terms of cooking oil. You don't need anything else. Now, as many of you may know, I do incorporate papaya. It's so hard for me to remember because it's not really a lot of things and I don't eat them often. So it's papaya, honey, squash, avocado, and plantain. So these are 5 things that I eat outside of an animal-based diet. And sometimes a little bit of onion that's in a ceviche, which is like a kind of like a fresh fish salad. So there's been a few things that I've been able to reintroduce and I do just fine with. So I'm gonna share with you a list of safe, non-starchy veggies, a safe list of carbohydrates that maybe you'll do well with, maybe you are not ready to try yet, or maybe you will never try. But I'm going to put this list out there because I know that we're all on our own individual journeys, and I don't want to just stick to carnivore because I'm a little bit tired of the labels. I feel like I kind of want to just be open and transparent. I am animal-based and I eat another 5 things. I don't know what that makes me. So my top veggies that I have kind of gathered a consensus of are pickles, carrots, mushrooms, cabbage, squash, and zucchini, but with no skin. So in terms of pickles, I would definitely, if possible, make your own pickles. Or just read the ingredients and make sure there's no funny business going on there, no ingredients that you don't recognize. With carrots, you don't want to be buying the little baby carrots. I heard that those guys have bleach on them. So all of these veggies, I would only wholeheartedly be able to stand behind them if you're growing them or your friend is, or you know your local farmer and you know that they're not spraying these vegetables. Oh, and of course, I forgot to mention avocado on there. So it's not really a massive list of vegetables. And this is not to say not to try any other vegetables that I didn't mention in there. It's just to say these ones, in my opinion, are the safest, the lowest in anti-nutrients. I also feel like you can grow these by yourself depending on where you are living. Another thing that I've learned over the years that may be safe are fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi. And then in terms of sweeteners, you guys know me, I only use raw honey. And then when I have access to real Canadian maple syrup, I will use that as well. Okay, and then, I find this video kind of interesting because a lot of these veggies here that I mentioned, I don't personally eat. So I said pickles, carrots, mushrooms, cabbage, squash, and zucchini. I literally only have squash and avocado from that list, and sometimes mushrooms. And, be mindful that there is different ways to prepare these vegetables so that you kind of they get rid of all of the toxins. So mushrooms, you're supposed to boil them for a really, really long time before you eat them. Um, but that's why this list it's like an open-ended list, and you can pick and choose what you think you'd like to try and see how it goes from there, right? I'm also going to mention some fruits that I do well with: lemon or lime, and papaya. That's my three: lemon, lime, and papaya. You can, experiment with honeydew or cantaloupe, cranberries or cherries or blueberries, a handful, but it all depends on if you're able to locally source them. Otherwise, they're probably going to be sprayed with pesticides, which is no bueno, no good. And then the final thing I'm going to touch up on are condiments and herbs and spices. So, in terms of condiments, I would say that mustard and apple cider vinegar are good, honey and maple syrup, which I've mentioned. And I hear a lot of people using a coconut teriyaki and coconut soy based condiment. I haven't tried those myself, but I will put the brands below in the description so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And then in terms of herbs and spices, the safe bets are going to be the ones that you can grow in your garden by yourself, or if you have a friend who has a beautiful garden. They are rosemary, garlic, dill, fennel, thyme. I just really messed that up, but I'm not going to correct it. It's thyme. Bay leaf, sumac, basil, which I love. I love basil. And I love cilantro, mustard seed, nutmeg, white pepper, saffron, salt, of course, tarragon, and vanilla. So that's it, you guys. I mean, I just kind of read a whole bunch of foods at you, but this is a really, really detailed list that it didn't just come overnight. I wish somebody gave me this list when I first started my healing journey on an animal-based diet. Maybe, you know what though, maybe things wouldn't have turned out the same. I'm kind of happy that I kind of started off with a blank slate, because it forced me to just like be so thirsty for knowledge and just try to find out everything on my own. And I love Instagram and Facebook because they are such a wealth of knowledge, and people just are so kind and want to give out information for free. And you really won't know what is valid sometimes until you try it yourself, kind of like a self experiment. So I hope that you guys found this list helpful. Just a reminder, I'm not telling you to eat these things. I'm just saying that these are some of the safest foods. I mean, they are real foods after all, nothing man-made here. So if you're gonna pick from this list of foods, you are going to be in a way better position than if you're gonna depend on, your local McDonald's or your local grocery store on telling you what to eat. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think of it. Should I do more videos like this? And give me some feedback. I love to hear from you guys, and I hope that you enjoy the other two videos on the screen. Bye.